This is a special report.
Disclosure: former Attorney General Eric Holder did not participate in the production of this video. His voice is generated by artificial intelligence. We chose Attorney General Holder because of his extraordinary record defending civil rights, his principled leadership of the Department of Justice, and his lifelong commitment to the rule of law. The facts presented are entirely sourced from public records, court filings, and investigative journalism. I am Eric Holder. I served as the 82nd Attorney General of the United States. For 6 years, I led the Department of Justice. I swore an oath to protect the Constitution. What I am about to present is evidence that the current administration has systematically dismantled every mechanism designed to prevent authoritarian abuse of power. Between January 2025 and February 2026, this government has blocked oversight of detention facilities, killed 2 American citizens with false justifications, detained tens of thousands of people without criminal convictions, violated 96 court orders in a single month, kidnapped a foreign head of state without congressional authorization, and accepted $500 million from a foreign government before making policy decisions that benefited that government. These are not allegations. These are documented facts. Let me walk you through them. The administration tells you they are targeting the worst of the worst: dangerous criminals, gang members, terrorists. Let me show you what their own data reveals. 73% of people in ICE detention have no criminal conviction whatsoever. Only 5% have been convicted of violent crimes. Many of the so-called convictions are traffic violations. The shift is dramatic and intentional. Under the previous administration in December 2024, 64% of detainees had criminal records. Under this administration just 1 year later, only 29% do. Arrests of people with no criminal record surged 2,450%. 92% of the growth in detention is driven by people with no criminal convictions. This administration set a quota of 3,000 arrests per day, not based on public safety, not based on threat assessments. A quota. When you set arrest quotas divorced from criminal activity, you are not conducting law enforcement. You are conducting mass detention based on ethnicity and national origin, using a false public safety narrative as cover. As the former Attorney General, I can tell you, the most dangerous thing any government can do is prevent people from watching what it does. When authorities systematically block oversight, they create conditions where anything can happen without consequences. This is how atrocities begin, not with sudden brutality, but with the methodical elimination of witnesses. ICE facility inspections dropped 36% in 2025, while detention surged 75%. Congress is legally authorized to conduct unannounced visits to detention facilities. ICE now requires 7 days advance notice and routinely denies access even then. A federal judge has blocked this policy twice. ICE continues defying those court orders. The Department of Homeland Security made sweeping cuts to its own oversight divisions. More agents, fewer inspectors, more people detained, less ability to see what happens to them. This is not an accident, this is architecture. 32 people died in ICE custody in 2025, the most ever recorded outside of COVID. 6 more died in just the first 3 weeks of 2026. At Fort Bliss, the largest facility, investigators documented physical abuse by officers, sexual assault by officers, medical neglect causing death. A man named Francisco Gaspar Andres died of liver and kidney failure after being denied medical care. Fort Bliss holds 3,000 detainees. Only 10 are permitted attorney access per day. No legal materials are provided. For-profit companies run these facilities with every financial incentive to cut corners and no oversight to stop them. At the California City Detention Facility, detainees described conditions as a torture chamber. The facility had documented abuse history. they reopened it anyway. In January 2026, nearly 3,000 ICE and Border Patrol agents were deployed to Minneapolis in what they called Operation Metro Surge, the largest immigration operation in American history. 2 American citizens would not survive it. Renee Nicole Good was 37 years old, a mother of 3, a poet and an artist, an American citizen. On January 7, an ICE vehicle was stuck in a snowbank blocking the street. Agents gave conflicting orders. One yelled, "Get out," another yelled, "Drive away." An agent grabbed her door handle. She briefly reversed, then drove forward away from the agent. The agent shot her 3 times as the vehicle turned away from him. The Department of Homeland Security claimed she attempted to run over the agent. Video evidence completely contradicts that claim. The federal government then blocked the state investigation, claiming exclusive jurisdiction. Her wife said it simply, "We had whistles, they had guns." Alex Pretti was also 37 years old, an ICU nurse, an American citizen. He was legally carrying a firearm and filming with his phone as he helped direct traffic. What happened next was captured on video. An agent knocked a woman to the ground. Pretti stepped between them to help. He was pepper sprayed. Multiple agents tackled him, pinned him down, and beat him. Then an agent in gray reached down, removed Pretti's gun from his holster, and walked away with it. About 1 second after the gun was removed, with Pretti unarmed, surrounded, and on the ground, the first shot was fired into his back, then 3 more shots into his back as he braced himself against the pavement, holding nothing but a phone and his glasses. He collapsed. 2 agents then fired 6 more shots into Pretti as he lay motionless. 10 shots in 5 seconds, into an unarmed man on the ground, surrounded. The shooters have been identified: Border Patrol agent Jesus Ochoa and CBP officer Raimundo Gutierrez. The federal government is blocking the state investigation. The President of the United States called this American citizen an agitator and perhaps an insurrectionist. No first aid was rendered after the shooting. Let me describe what is operating in American communities right now. Federal agents routinely wear ski masks and balaclavas. They display no visible agency designation, no name tags, no badge numbers. They operate from unmarked vehicles. They pose as utility workers to enter homes. They use rental cars with fake business decals. They stop people on the street demanding identification based on appearance and accent. After 2 American citizens were killed, the administration announced body cameras would be deployed, effective immediately, in Minneapolis only. Nationwide deployment, as funding becomes available. No policy on when cameras must actually be activated. The president himself said cameras are 80% good for law enforcement, meaning they protect officers, not citizens. I ran the Department of Justice for 6 years. What I am describing are not the tactics of accountable law enforcement. These are the tactics of authoritarian regimes. You cannot identify who committed the abuse. You cannot verify they are actually law enforcement. You cannot hold anyone accountable. And the federal government blocks every investigation. This is what secret police look like. A father and his 5-year-old son, Liam Canijo Ramos, were legal asylum seekers with an active case. They had no deportation order. When agents approached, the father fled on foot. What the agents did next defines the cruelty of this system. They used the 5-year-old as bait, having him knock on a door to see if his mother would answer. The child was detained alone. He was flown to a facility in Dilley, Texas, 1,500 miles from his home. No due process, no court hearing. Immediate deportation was attempted. The federal judge who intervened called it the result of ill-conceived and incompetently implemented deportation quotas. The judge condemned what he called the perfidious lust for unbridled power and the imposition of cruelty. The child was held for 10 days before the court forced his release. The case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia is the most important test of authoritarian power in modern American history. In 2019, an immigration judge granted him legal protection from deportation to El Salvador. In March 2025, the government ignored that court order and deported him to El Salvador's Soco mega prison anyway. When caught, ICE claimed administrative error. A federal judge ordered his return. The Supreme Court unanimously upheld that order. The government defied multiple court orders, taking months to comply. When they finally brought him back, they immediately charged him with crimes from a 2022 traffic stop that had resulted only in a warning, no charges for 3 years. Then he sued for wrongful deportation, and suddenly he was charged. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche called the prosecution a top priority after the wrongful deportation lawsuit. The chief of the criminal division resigned over concerns about political prosecution. A federal judge found some evidence of vindictive prosecution. The president boasted a fake photo with MS-13 digitally added to the man's fingers and called him a terrorist, wife-beater, and child predator, all without evidence. El Salvador's own government said there was no evidence he was a criminal. This is not an isolated case. The attorney now has about a dozen similar cases of people deported precisely to the country they were legally protected from being deported to. This is the administration deliberately testing what happens when the government simply refuses to obey courts. In January 2026, the United States military bombed Caracas, Venezuela. Without congressional authorization, without a declaration of war, without consulting Congress in advance, they raided a compound, killed multiple guards, and kidnapped President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, flying them to New York to face drug trafficking charges. The president said, quote, "We're going to run the country," referring to Venezuela. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, could not name any legal authority when asked on national television. Meanwhile, the president extorted a Nobel Peace Prize. Maria Corina Machado won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize and dedicated it to Trump. He told her to refuse it, to say she could not accept it because it belonged to Donald Trump. She came to the White House, gave him the physical medal, and he kept it. He still did not install her as leader. Every major oil company refused to invest. ExxonMobil's CEO called Venezuela uninvestable. ConocoPhillips is still trying to recover $12 billion from the last nationalization. The operation was not about democracy because Trump is working with Maduro's vice president. It was not about oil because the economics don't work. It was about testing whether a president can kidnap a foreign leader without consequences. 4 days before the inauguration, a UAE firm controlled by Sheikh Tahnoun, the UAE's national security advisor, bought a 49% stake in the Trump family's World Liberty Financial crypto company for $500 million. Weeks later, the Trump administration approved the sale of advanced American AI chips to the UAE, reversing restrictions imposed due to concerns about technology reaching China. This is not a complex policy question. A foreign government gives the president's family $500 million. The president then makes a policy decision that benefits that government, a decision that reverses previous national security protections. This is pay-to-play at the international level, with American national security as the commodity for sale. The Department of Government Efficiency has gained access to Social Security numbers, home addresses, medical histories, tax records, welfare benefits, bank accounts, and immigration statuses across federal agencies. A March 2025 executive order directed agencies to take all necessary steps for data consolidation. The historical parallel is direct. Japanese-American internment during World War II was enabled by the Census Bureau sharing supposedly confidential data with the military. 120,000 people were rounded up and imprisoned based on their ethnicity. Today, the government has the capability to cross-reference immigration status with bank accounts, identify anyone receiving government benefits, and create comprehensive profiles of individuals and communities, combined with a 3,000 arrest per day quota and detention based on national origin, the infrastructure for mass roundups is already in place. Let me connect the pieces. Step 1. Eliminate oversight. Block congressional inspections. Gut oversight divisions. Create zones without witnesses. Step 2. Operate in secret. Masked agents with no identification. Block investigations into killings. No accountability mechanisms. Step 3. Defy courts with impunity. 96 court orders violated in a single month. Deliberate test cases of court defiance. Step 4. Use terror as a tool. Kill American citizens with false justifications. Use children as bait. Separate families and send them to distant facilities. Step 5. Eliminate due process. 73% detained have no criminal convictions. Legal asylum seekers detained and deported. Step 6. Build surveillance infrastructure. Consolidate databases. Break down privacy protections. Create the capability for mass identification. Secret police. Blocked oversight. Zones without witnesses. Ethnic persecution. Children as tools. Killing with impunity. Court defiance. Surveillance state. International lawlessness. Every single element of historical authoritarian regimes is documented, active, and operational in the United States right now. This is not hyperbole. This is evidence. Congress must act immediately. Restore unannounced facility inspections. Investigate the killings of Renee, Nicole and Alex Pretti through an independent body, because the federal government cannot investigate itself. Do not allocate $45 billion for detention expansion until oversight is restored. Officials who have openly defied 96 court orders must face impeachment proceedings. The budget deadline is the leverage point. Without funding, the expansion stops. Without funding, the architecture cannot be completed. States must pursue their own investigations. State citizens killed on state soil means state jurisdiction, regardless of what the federal government claims. And every American who hears this must contact their representatives. These are not partisan issues. These are constitutional issues, and the Constitution does not enforce itself. Every fact in this presentation comes from government documents, court records, federal filings, and investigative journalism. Where legal outcomes are pending, we have said so. Where the administration has offered justifications, we have noted them. I have spent my career in service to the rule of law, as a judge, as a prosecutor, as the Attorney General of the United States. I have seen government power misused, but I have never seen anything like this: the deliberate, systematic construction of authoritarian infrastructure on American soil. The architecture is being built piece by piece. Each violation tests what will be tolerated. Each court order defied establishes precedent. Each blocked inspection creates another zone without witnesses. The time to stop this is now, before the architecture is complete. I'm Eric Holder. Thank you for watching.